It's the Rangers Journal night.
Evening everybody and welcome back to Rangers Journal, brought to you in association with Mano and Inverclyde. Sorry we're 3 minutes late. It kind of happens on a Thursday when Dean's on, doesn't it, mate? How are you getting on, Dean? All right?
I'm very well, thank you, buddy. How are you getting on?
Aye, hanging together.
Good.
Davie, second appearance. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, buddy. Yourself?
Aye, hanging together.
Good.
Can't
Good.
name the
How
last
you?
Right, so I just thought we would kind of touch upon the transfer window so far because I would say there's frustration starting to creep in amongst the support. There's not been very many. Well, there's been the outgoings yet, which is quite poor. Dean, I'll come to you first. What's your kind of thoughts and feelings on the transfer window so far?
I'm actually quite pleased with it, given the circumstances of the club. I think clearly needing funds in, and that requires players going out, and also with the internationals that's going on as well. It's not just the Euros that's going on. We've got the Copa America as well, and that just has a massive ripple effect all around the world. With we're not the only club that needs to sell players to get money and things like that as well. So it's really just a case of getting to grips with that. And I guess the fans' frustration and the bed waiting is because of years gone by of the absolute shambolic transfer windows that we've been subjected to. I can totally understand why fans are waiting the bed and wanting movement and things like that. But yeah, I'm quite content and happy with the way that things have been so far.
Davey, what's your overall thoughts and feelings on the transfer window so far? Are you happy enough? Are you wanting more done? Were you expecting to be a wee bit further along than what we are?
Obviously, again, is what Dino says with the Copa America and the Eurozone. I'd like to have seen a wee bit more going out. I'd like to have seen, obviously, Lundstrom and Barisic is away. I'd like to see a couple of more going, like Ben Davis. But coming in, it's been a bit of a hit and miss, to be honest with you. I think we kind of need an extra, as I said the other night, I think we kind of need an extra maybe 4, maybe 5 players. I would like to see Harry Souttar come in, John's brother. I'd like to see him come in into defence. Kenny McLean, I know you guys like him. To be honest with you, he doesn't really do a lot for me, to be honest with you guys. I don't think he's the answer. 2, he's too old. He's 32, and what I heard through a good few boys I know, he's wanting at least 3-year contract, and I don't think Rangers is prepared to give him that. So, I don't know how much he's wanting per week, but I don't think he's the answer. I think we need to look kind of more younger. As I say, we need more people with a bit of grit in them. He's too old now, I think now. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah. Kenny McLean is going to come in and fill a void that I think needs filled within the squad. If the rumours are true with Tav and Goldson et al. Leaving, it does leave a gap. Need to wait and see kind of what happens on that one. There's kind of mixed reports that the deal's done, it's not done, it's off, it's on. So we'll just kind of need to wait and see. Obviously, we're not privy to any of that kind of information, and we would never kind of pass any of that out anyway. But
yeah,
don't know. It's an awkward one. It's an awkward one. But I did meet one of our people yesterday, Curry Muncher. We've done a tour of Ibrox with him yesterday. What a guy, man! Honestly, what a guy. I'm Curry. I'm not going to share any stories, mate. It's just not happening. I'm not putting anything like that out live on YouTube. We're trying to build something good here. I'm not coming in with your tails a wool. Dino, what's your thoughts on Kenny McLean?
Just the same as what I was I think what last week. I wouldn't be going breaking the bank for him, but I would. But I think it would be an astute piece of business getting somebody like that in, and only if the monies was right, and a 3-year contract. I'd maybe, if the money was right, I would be a 2-year contract and option of a 3rd year if certain criteria was met. But because you've got to think about it, but I know Stephen Davies is a far better player than Kenny McLean, but he only retired because of injury. He maybe wouldn't have been playing week in, week out, but he would have still had an impact in the squad. So I think Kenny McLean can be that sort of person in and around the squad and still contributing to the first team, but it wouldn't be a starter every week for me. So therefore, the wages would have to reflect that, in my opinion, and also the cost. Again, I'll say it again. I'd be astounded if we were able to get him at a cut price, but you've been quite vocal in saying the only reason that would happen is if there was a gentleman's agreement with him when he signed for Norwich. So, and I can only really, echo that. That's probably the only way that we would get him at a cut price, because at the end of the day, he's their player of the year, built the team around him. They want to get promotion to the Premiership. He's their captain, but he's going to come to us for £1.5 million. I just don't understand. In football, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Doug's come in with a very good point. He's saying that doesn't see how a finance angle works. A few years left and he's still in Norwich and was one of their better players, so why would they let him go cheap? Usually it would be Doug Glitt, when he signed his contract extension with Norwich, he would have said, if Rangers come in, basically I would want to go. So that's the only way I can see it getting done, because I think he is a £3 or £4 million player. I don't think that's something that's a go, to be brutally honest. Paying that price, I think £500,000 to £1 million is more than kind of reasonable. I know he played well and stuff last year, but we'll just need to wait and see how it all pans out. Right, let's get into some of the outgoings that he's want, lads. Davie, you mentioned the other night that you weren't keen on the thought of Lammers and Dessers leaving, because you wanted a wee bit of stability and stuff brought in. Or to stay within a club. Now, there's been no more murmurings. I think Rangers Review broke a story that there was teams in Saudi and France and Belgium were interested in Dessers. What about mere fringe players? So, like Kieran, I'll throw a couple at you, right? Kieran Dowell and Ben Davies. What would you do with they two guys?
I would keep Kieran Dowell, because he's got the pace that can split defences. I was at the game. Who was it? I know it's not a high team, but I think it was Livingston when we won 4-0. He came on. Matondo came on and totally changed the game when he came on. But when Kieran Dowell came on, I like Kieran Dowell because he offers. For me, I think he offers a bit of, as I said, grit. I think he's a good player. Ben Davies, I would let go. I would let Ben Davies go. Because he's just
David, does Kieran Dowell's injury record no worry at all? No,
that's it does. But we need to try and see if we can get all that. Like Lammers, I know I said the other night about Dessers and Lammers. I would keep Lammers and let him play in his natural position, which is a striker. Gear him up to January, and if he doesn't do it by obviously the end of December, January, then sell him. But we need to give the boy his position. See how well he does in his own position instead of playing him out of position. Because obviously the boy was struggling. You could see that. But play him in his natural position up to the end of December, January. And if he doesn't do what he's here to do, like score goals, then get rid of him. I know what you're saying Kieran Dowell. As I says, I do like Kieran Dowell. The only big thing about me is his injury record.
Aye.
But
Dean, I'm going to let you come in. Dean, I'm going to let you come in on Lammers. Where you at with Sam Lammers now? He went to Holland, right? He went to Holland, scored tons of goals, broke records, etc. No. Do you think he could do a job as number 9 at Rangers?
No.
No.
Simple as that. The shirt's too heavy for him, for starters. And his stock is never going to be higher than it is just now. If he comes back, then plays, and he's absolutely dug meat as he was in his first 6 months at Ibrox, then he's going to lose value. So we're going to be back in the same position where we're going to be struggling to get him a permanent move. It's going to be another loan move, and then, you know, Groundhog Day this time next year. So we're in the best position possible to move him on. There's been players that have came and went who, you know, the shirt's been too heavy for them, but they're good players, and he just falls into that category for me. So I would, and it's money that we can invest into the squad, and, you know, spend it on somebody who's been coming into the club with better form and things like that, and maybe not as, you know, poor as what Lammers' last few campaigns had been in Italy, and, you know, he was on loan at Frankfurt, things like that. So it just didn't. He never came into us in a good place. It was almost like Michael Beale signed him to try and fix him, and he was unable to fix him. So, and he went to Holland, and he got fixed, didn't he? And he had the best football of his entire career. So I think for him as well, as a person, I would be wanting to stay where I've just been playing my best football and not come back and, you know, perhaps take another gamble on, you know, when he played for us, he looked miserable in that as well. You know, you can't, like, you've got to have some sort of dignity about yourself, and all fair enough that it's a big club, Rangers, and this, that, and the next thing, but, you know, he, as you said, he broke records. So his stats were sensational. So go back and play that football that you've been playing, that's been, you know, making you love football again. And when he was a lot younger, he was getting touted for the national team and you know, all sorts. So there's definitely a good player in there, and Holland is a place for him to be, as far as I'm concerned.
That's interesting you say national team, because I'm going to give you a wee bit of a hot take. I think if Lammers had spent the whole season at FC Utrecht, it might be at the Euros.
He would have definitely been at the Euros. I completely agree with that, yeah.
Right, Davie, what do you think? Davie, come
in. Well, he showed his form, didn't he? He showed what he can do. So, yeah, he might have had a good chance at being at the Euros, yes.
Aye,
So,
definitely. I just don't think he's suited to Scottish football. I think he's a Hamebird. I think he's just suited to Dutch football, and it's definitely one up for debate. Dean, what would your fee be? Obviously, there's been rumours of $2.5 million. What about you? I think we should be asking for more. I think Paul's right. Maybe 4-5 million, I think.
Paul's bang on, and I think it's the general consensus with Rangers fans that we are valuing him, you know, at least what we paid, if not slightly more. And I think I highlighted Johnny McFarlane from the Rangers Review. He had said that if he was, you know, these type of players that have those stats go for 10 million, and from the Eredivisie. So, do you know, obviously being at Rangers, it's slightly different. So you've got to think that a team that's going to be investing in him are going to be wanting to play him every week and things like that. And we've got to really put that in perspective in terms of selling him. And so I would be thinking around the 5 million mark at least for him, in my opinion.
I've got to agree with you. Ben Davies, Dean, you get any thoughts? Kieran Dowell?
I mean, Kieran Dill, no, his injury record, and then that Old Firm game, and he gave up on the halfway line. I remember I was spitting feathers about that. That just really, really bothered me. And that's his Rangers career was ended that day for me. So Ben Davies, it's another one of them. It's not really worked out for him. There's loads of contradicting sort of things to his game, but he's still in a position where he does hold value to teams in the Championship. And he's not really been at the level that we've all been wanting him to be at. So, and not that I was aware of it until the other night, but he's been, he's some personal issues as well. So, and if you've got personal issues and stuff, family's usually the best people to be around you. And I think his family are all in England, aren't they? So, there's loads of things that you've got to take into consideration for players. That he could still go to the Championship, earn a good wage, and play a very good standard, and be, a good player in that league. So for me, it would make sense for him to move on in the summer.
I agree. I just think it's finding a team that's interested.
That's it. Yep.
There's going to be the problem. Who else was I going to touch up on? It wasn't right in my head now. It wasn't Ben Davies. We've done Kieran Dill. Davie, I'm going to come to you on Tom Lawrence, right? Tom Lawrence is a good player. I just don't think he's got the legs for a number 10 role. I don't think he's done it. I don't think he's mobile enough in the role. Now, there's rumours that Gio is interested in him at Besiktas. What about you? What's your thoughts on Tom Lawrence?
He's obviously not done it, has he? So he's get sold, basically. Just like Ben Davies, he hasn't done it, so I'd sell him as well. I like Tom Lawrence. I just wish he was a bit younger when he came to Ibrox.
Aye, definitely. I think with the wages he's on, he needs to leave. If I'm being brutally honest with you, Davie, I think that's what it's all about. It's about clearing the decks. Ross Wilson stitches up a belter signing some of these players. It really has. Dean, what about you on Tom Lawrence?
Well, do you know the funny thing is, Tom Lawrence, before he signed for Rangers, had barely had an injury. Had played pretty much every game, every season. Comes to Rangers, doesn't even play half a dozen games. And, he was, before he got injured, in those half a dozen games, he was Rangers standout player. We're like, oh, we've finally got somebody that's this at the next thing, can have a dig, do this, do that. And boom, injured it for a year or whatever it was, comes back, leaving half the player. He's lost not just 1 yard of pace, he's lost about 10 yards of pace. And it's a shame because the guy's got determination in him to obviously get the ball, have a dig, or do, he's technically good. And it just isn't happening for him. And I mean, it's the sad truth is, if it's not happening for you, you need to leave. So we can't be sentimental to players because of this, because of that. Football's a business at the end of the day. We need success. We can't be having players at the club because this, that, the next thing. We need to move them on for the better for us and for the betterment of the player too. Because I'm pretty sure he could go down to England and have a good end to his career, and because he's got qualities that teams will obviously that they'll be better for it. But in my opinion, he needs to leave Rangers.
Right, Curry's come in with a question. Davie, Curry does his own podcast called The Stands Ibrox, right? And he comes in, he'll come in and he'll try and noise you up. He'll try and break you on camera because he wants to see you having a laugh and all that, right? He's perfectly harmless, but I'm just kind of pre-warning you in case you see some of the comments coming up. Half of me's a wee bit not right to heed sometimes. It's just Curry. He's come in and he said, what's you and the lads' thoughts on who is the main priorities to get out the door? Not the ones that need to go, just the defos. Well, I'm going to cause a wee bit of controversy here, and Curry will probably applaud me when I say this, but Tav and Goldson are the first two that need to leave for me. I want to see that leadership group ripped apart. Already got Lundstrom and Barisic away. I want to R2 Gordon as well. That's definitely my two. I think there's other players that should be leaving first in terms of freeing up some wages, like Lammers. Dessers doesn't cut it for me. Tom Lawrence, Scott Wright, Kieran Dibble, Ben Davies, Robbie Matondo. The list goes on, but I think you need to get into this leadership group first and get it gutted. Dean, I'm going to come to you first. What about you?
I've been banging that drum for a long time. I remember when it was one of the very first few pods that we did, and Ross asked me a question, and it was about Tav, and said, "Is Tav a legend to you?" And I said, "If Tav wins the treble this season, he'll be a legend in my eyes." Aye. And that's and that's kind of where I'm at now. It's not as if it's just like that. It's a big difference between winning the League Cup and not winning the Scottish Cup and the League. And with the fifth time of asking or whatever, do you know? So it's definitely a time for him to go, and a time for Goldson, both of them to go. They've been good servants and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, they're unsuccessful, and we need success. We're starved of it, and we, as Rangers fans, we demand success.
Aye. Simple
as that. So, you can say, "Oh, he's been a good servant. He's scored these goals. They've done this," but where's it gotten us at the end of the day? We've been singing a song about the Scotland's most successful team for so many years, and now look at us. So we need the players that haven't won anything like them to leave, as far as I'm concerned. For us to move on and become better, because that, at the end of the day, that's what we strive to be.
Davie, what about you? You're Philippe Clement or your Nils Cotman, whatever one you want to be. Who is your first two to get rid of out of the club? Who do you want going?
As I said to you on Tuesday, I think it was when I was on, I would want the two of them to go. If Tav can get pushed forward, then I would keep Tav and bring in a right back. But if that can't happen, then I would like the two to go, Lawrence to go, and obviously the other two I went, like Barisic and Lundstrom, they're away as well. That's who I would like to see go. I'd keep Matondo. I think Matondo will come onto our game. As you've seen, kind of like in the last season, I think he came on a good wee bit. But that's just my opinion.
That's fair, mate. That's fair. Robbie Matondo is a guy that is very good off the bench. But what Robbie Matondo needs to do is cement his spot in the starting lineup. I think that's probably his biggest challenge for next season. Dean, what about you? What about Robbie Matondo? Now he's come in and done it in flashes. I think when Abdallah Sima picked up his injury, he came in, played 6 matches and had 4 or 5 goal contributions between scoring and assisting. What's your take? Is he a priority to get rid of for you?
He's a priority in terms of being an expensive sub. He's not going to be good enough to hold down a first team spot. Unfortunately, we all wanted him to be. I mean, when he signed that pre-season, he was a standout, wasn't he? And he's just. I really wanted him to have a run in the team when he had these, 2 standout goals back to back, and felt he would fully deserve it, but he just wasn't. Clearly, just isn't good enough to be a nailed down starter at Ibrox, and that's a very, very healthy wage for somebody to sit on the bench and keep it warm for us. So, in my opinion, we need to be getting rid of players like that who are going to be not contributing in terms of the minutes that they're playing. To it's not a good return on investment as far as I'm concerned.
Right, definitely. I think he's definitely one that divides his support. And I would rather see the likes of Ben Davies and stuff leave before him. I think Robbie Matondo is probably at least a year worries just now, considering what needs to get done to that squad. Right, well, we've touched upon outgoings. incomings now. So we've obviously signed the likes of Hefty and Connor Barron, players like that. Davie, I'm going to come to you first on the whole kind of signing Scottish players thing. We've not heard from you on it. We've all banged the drum to our blue in the face, especially me and Dean. But do you think that bringing in the likes of Connor Barron, he's Scottish, he knows the league, he knows Rangers, whether he's a supporter or not, it doesn't really matter to me, but he's going to settle a lot better than what somebody coming from a foreign country will. Do you think we need to go for more Scottish players, or are you quite happy with what we've been doing?
I do think so, yeah. I do think we need some more Scottish in, yeah. But who you got to bring in though? Connor Bannon's Connor Bannon's probably one of the best young boys I've seen in Scotland for a while. Shankland, I mean, Hearts are wanting about 5 million for him. Me personally, I don't see. I know he can score goals, but can he do it in Europe?
He's done it in Europe.
Has he done it in Europe? Has he? I don't know. So I don't watch any other team apart from Rangers in Europe. So, I don't know. But I don't know. What do you think about Shankland? Would you bring him in?
Yep, 100%. You've got Shankland's number one fanboy sitting right here, mate.
Okay.
What about you?
I don't think you could meet bigger fanboys than us for Shankland.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
I think is it Mosky? Is it the Aberdeen striker?
Aye, Miofsky, aye.
Miofsky, I think he's a better striker. That's my honest opinion. I think he's a better striker than Shankland.
I don't think he is a better striker than Shankland right now. I think through time he will be. But I think I can see a deal getting done for 1.5 to 2 million for Shankland. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think it would be that dear considering he's going into last year's contract. Williams came in and said what Scottish players are going to progress us into the Champions League now. William, this is exactly it's been a problem amongst the Rangers support and in Rangers in general, as we've been a half-decent European team in the last few years, but we're hopeless in the league. So you need players that are going to come in and win as a league. We need to get back to being good in the league and not saying horrible domestic in European football, but you need to we need to prioritise domestic success for my eyes, definitely. Dean, what about Danny Armstrong? I'll come to you on him. Paul's asking.
Hi, I've been saying Armstrong for long enough. I've looked at Danny Armstrong as a player that can definitely have an impact in the squad domestically and in Europe. We've historically always had Scottish players in our successful squads and players who we've signed the best from other teams. Players who were thorns in our side and we've signed them. And I'm going to use Neil McCann as a prime example. Neil McCann was a thorn in our side every time we played Hearts. The Cat went out and bottom, and I mean, Neil McCann's one of my favourite ever Rangers players. And so, do you get what I mean? So it's one of them where you've got to think about it. Right? You sign a player that's not got the credentials because of the team that they support and blah 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 blah. That makes no difference. I'm just you know what I mean. So we can sign players and we can have them play for Rangers and win by playing for Rangers, irrespective of the team that they support, in my opinion.
Aye, definitely.
And Scotland's full of that. So it doesn't matter who they support, where they come from. They're going to come in and make a difference to our squad and make us successful. Then I'm all for it.
Aye. Got to agree with that, mate. Got to agree with that. So, Davey, see the transfer strategy that Rangers seem to have recruited so far this summer. It seems to be young, hungry, foreign players. Oscar Cortez. No, it's funny I should bring up Oscar Cortez because I was on a tour at Ibrox with Curry yesterday, and he says to me that Cortez could potentially be our best signing in the summer. I think he's going to be our star player next season. What's your take on Cortez?
For what I seen him, brilliant. Brilliant. But I just wish he never get injured so we could see a bit more. But I would like to see a full season with him, see how he is. Because I think he's a brilliant player. For what I've seen before he got injured, he was a brilliant player. But aye, that's
100%. 100%. What about Seema? Would you take Seema back this summer, and how much would you spend?
don't know. I liked Seema, but I don't know. What they asking was it? They've dropped it to 4 and 5 million, haven't they?
It's really hard to tell, mate.
Aye, that's what the fee was round about. What I was reading, 4 to 5 million. They dropped it down for 8, but I don't know. I really don't know about Seema. I don't know. I know he got an nasty injury before, obviously, the end of the season, but I don't know. I don't know about Seema. Seema's one of the ones that I liked him, but I don't know.
Dean, what about you on Seema? What's your take?
It's quite a difficult one because of the money and his injury history, whilst he's been even at us, is quite a it's quite a hard one because you're going to be forking out all that money. You want it in a player that's going to be fit as often as possible. Now, don't get me wrong, when he's fit, he's going to be contributing, isn't he? But think about Roof. Paid a lot of money for Roof, and he was hardly available for us. But I don't know. I just think is there another player out there that we can pay 5 million for that's going to be able to be fit more than him. It's a massive gamble because he's not going to just be on, it's not going to be 5-6 million or whatever. It's going to be a lengthy contract too. It's not just going to be a couple of years, is it? So you could be in another situation where he then gets injured and things like that. I'm just sceptical because of years gone by and what we've been landed with, and and again, I'll keep using this phrase, starved to success. We want players that are going to be contributing to that success that we need. And I don't know if Seema's able to do that, given his body just seems to be prone to injury.
Would you take him back on loan? Sorry, Scott. Would you take Seema back on loan?
He's getting into last year his contract, Davie. So unless he signed a deal with Brighton, that probably won't happen. I don't think, mate.
Right. All right. Okay.
For me, I'm not in the bandwagon of he's a must. We need to get him in. Blah blah blah. I think he's a good player, and I think if we manage to get funds in, if you get your money back for Dessers and spend it in Seema, I'm not going to be complaining. Do you know what I mean? I think we need to move 1 or 2 out before we're going to get a player in. Smoke's come in with a very good point here, and he's saying we need we need an enforcer with a spine. Sorry, I muddled that up there. A team needs a proper spine with a midfield enforcer. Obviously, it was at Damien Garcia we were linked to. We brought Conor Barron in. Dean, Nico Raskin, let me come to you on him. Does he get a starting berth next season? It's an interesting one.
I definitely think he gets a chance to take the spot. I think we'd saw a wee bit of improvement in him at the end of the season there in comparison to where he had previously been. And there's loads of stories flying about that he wasn't fit or this, that, and the next thing. And when he first came with Cantwell, he was a good player in a poor team managed by a poor coach, let's be honest, and Michael Beale. So he actually looked like a total baller. So I do think that he has got ability, and if Clermont, I do feel will give him the opportunity to stake a claim. So it's his there. It's there for his taking, as far as I'm concerned. And you've got to think that there's got to be a bit of bias with Clement, and obviously with being a countryman and things like that. So you've got to think that Clement was a midfielder, wasn't he? So all these sort of things I'm thinking, is he the right coach to get him and make him a better player and play in a team and things like that. So I always felt that when the majority of games he played for Rangers, they just looked awkward and playing out of position. So it's about getting him in the right position for the way that Clement wants to play and the way that he wants to play. So, and yeah, he's going to get an opportunity this pre-season, that's for sure. So it's it's up to him.
Aye, definitely. Davie, have you got a take on Nico Raskin-Drink as a player?
I do. I don't know if I'd keep him though, if I'm honest. I don't. I think he'll flop, but I'll give him this year. I'll give him this year. I would give him this year and see how he goes. I would give him again. I would give him up to, as I says, with Lammers. I'd give him up to December, and if he doesn't pull his weight, then I would sell him, because then we could bring somebody in who can pull their weight. But I mean, it's all down to Clement at the end of the day if he wants to play him or not. I think he's done enough to get a starting place though.
It's difficult to tell. Never really seen enough of him. There was a massive improved performance in the Scottish Cup final off the midfield. That was the first time that our midfields got close to Celtic's midfield all season.
I missed that game. I was working to 8 o'clock that night, so I missed it. It's
hard to. It's really difficult to tell. I mean, like John Adams has come in comments. He says he needs to start performing. Like, so I've been waiting Nico Raskin arriving for signed. To be brutally honest with you, seen it in flashes, but you've seen it in flashes for this whole squad. You know what I mean? Seen it in flashes for Cantwell, Dibble, Ben Davies, where you finally thought, even Ridvan to an extent, you finally thought, right, we've got a player, he's settling now, and then he gets injured or he gets off form or something happens, you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one to discuss. Dean, I'll come to you on Hefty. What kind of roles he got next season? I think he's going to be quite a decent player, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't think he isn't going to be a player that's coming to settle in and things like that, because he was wanted back in Cyprus, and there's first team football was on a plate for him. So he's 20 years old Brazilian. There's no way on earth that Jeffrey's coming to Ibrox to sit on the bench. But reports have suggested that Ridvan stays. We've got Ridvan left back. Robbie Fraser signed a new contract. Jeffrey's got the stats and his attributes suggest that he's very capable and handy playing further forward. And Rangers may well benefit from having him in the left wing position as well from time to time. And I think that's the depth that he's going to give Clement, which is something that we've been badly needing. That somebody who can obviously come in and play in a different position and is going to be as good as. And I mean, everybody goes on about his delivery, his want and ability to beat a man, things like that, which is obviously boxes that need ticked for a winger, isn't it? So,
right.
As far as I'm concerned, he's going to be heavily involved. And 20-year-old and Brazilian playing at Ibrox just does things to me.
Aye, I know, mate. I know. Right, one last question for Pedro, just before we wrap up. Davie, where do you want to see Rangers sign next? What position in the park do you want to see filled?
Well, I'd like Golson and Tav to go, and I'd love to see another two defenders in, sorry. And in the midfield.
I like your
Probably said-
suggestion about Harry Suter. I like your
Aye.
suggestion about Harry Suter.
I prefer. He's a lot better than Goldson for a start. I would play
Better
him
than
in
John as
Derby
well.
Huh?
He's
better
better
than
than
John.
John. Aye.
I like John Suter. He's tough. He doesn't. He is tough, but again, football it's all about opinions. But I would love to see like a Steve Davis type in the midfield.
Aye.
We really need somebody. We really need somebody who can get the ball, run with the ball, and who's that? Suter Pepe.
Aye, I would love Pepe. Oh man,
Aye.
tough player.
But I would love to see somebody like a Steve Davis come in for the centre mid.
Aye, it's been missing.
Big time, you can see it. Because they two in the defence there are absolutely rotten. There's that midfield. It's not really been, as I said the other night there, we really need somebody. We really need about 4 or 5 good players in the core of that team, so we can obviously get players in who's got grit, and can actually fight for the ball instead of just running away from boys. You know what I mean? So, but that's my take on it.
Dino, what about you?
I would like a statement signing, and what I mean by that is somebody that's going to come in and that's going to, like we mean business, but somebody that's going to come in and lift the club after the abysmal season that we've just had. It's a transition, but somebody that the fans can really look up to, and that the players can look up to, and just somebody that's going to come in and as I said, a statement signing. Doesn't matter to me, as far as I'm concerned. Centre half, centre mid, centre forward. As somebody earlier pointed out, that it's a strong spine we need. So if it's a centre half, a centre mid, or a centre forward, but a statement signing in terms of the quality of the player.
Aye, definitely.
It's a pity we couldn't get 11 players like Sterling.
Aye, I know, mate. I know. He's outstanding, man.
Aye,
Just
brilliant.
sign Shankland. Just sign Shankland. I'll sign Tony Cholak back. Bring somebody in that's going to put a bonnet back to bloody net. That's all I want to see. I don't want to see guys.
How do you rate Danilo or Danilo? What are you? Danilo.
Dean, what about you? You go first.
I can only rate him this what I saw, and definitely is a good player, but he never got any consistent run because of his injuries. It's just a common theme, isn't it? Like just have a wee disclaimer, for everybody that we're going to talk about. It's the same. It's the same ending. But no, he had glowing reports from Holland and stuff. So he was well sought after, and so as far as I'm concerned, that if he can adapt to Scottish football, then yeah, he'll be a definite massive contributor to the squad.
Aye, fair point. For me, it's not his fault he done his cheekbone at St Johnstone or get his knee mangled against Hearts. Do you know what I mean? It's been
It's not
like Seema where Seema's pulled his hamstring or a thigh muscle or something like that. A Ridvan goes in international duty with Tupkin, does his thigh strain, and then he's coming back every weekend for about 10 weeks. You know what I mean? For me, I think there's a player in there. He reminds me an awful lot of Alan McCoist in the sense of the amount of chances he seems to get. He misses an awful lot, but he scores as well, if that makes any sense. I'm not for one sitting here comparing him to Alan McCoist, bloody hell, but what I'm saying is he seems to be in the right positions to get chances. Do you know what I mean? It's just some of his chances are howling, but he gets a shot away.
Do you think the best signing Rangers Football Club can make right now is get rid of the medical team and bring in new ones?
Probably, aye.
I think that's something that's actually in the, I think that's going on, Davie. So yeah, definitely there's going to be a change in that department within the club. I'm convinced of that.
Because it's the past couple of seasons injury with players. It's been an absolute joke, to be honest with you. You know, because we can't really get to see players. Then maybe see him for about 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's out with a broken toe or a hamstring or a thigh muscle, or you know, and then he's out for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then he needs to build himself up, his game time up, and then he gets himself built up, and then he's injured again, you know. So, I think the best thing we can do is get rid of that medical team and bring in new ones, because they obviously don't seem to be doing their job. Or it could be the way that they're getting trained, you know. But
aye.
Doug,
in answer to your question, no, I wouldn't take Dele Alli. Never in a million. We've tried to fix too many people's careers without taking another one in, man. Just that was my signing policy for a while. Bring Cantwell in, get him playing, sell him on. Lammers, Dessers, all these kind of players needed a Hames as such. No, we can't be playing like we can't be getting treated like that anyway. Right, anyway, boys. Davie, thank you for coming on, mate. Hope you enjoyed that.
No, I did. Thanks for having us, guys. I appreciate it.
No bother. Dino, cheers again, pal.
Scotty, thank you very much for having me. Pleasure and privilege as always, mate.
Right, everybody, like and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30, I think it is. It's at 7:30. Aye. And there'll be a Rangers news episode out probably about lunchtime tomorrow. I think Billy and Bob are going to do that. But we're just going to go live. We're not going to pre-record it, but we'll just go live. So like, subscribe, and get your notifications turned on, guys. Remember, every night is Rangers Journal night.